Hello, I'm Ann Godding, and I'm an instructor here at SUNY New Paltz, and one of the courses I teach is called Storytelling and Culture. It's a course that meets the diversity requirement and the general education requirements, and one of the things I love about storytelling is the many ways that we educate ourselves and each other through the use of stories. And what I'm going to be emphasizing today is 3 different lenses for storytelling. One of them will be the oral tradition, one will be the literary tradition, and one will be the electronic tradition. So, by far the oral tradition is the oldest. It's really impossible to imagine a time when people did not have a way to communicate. And communication was important because without it, and without the learning we received from it, it would be impossible to learn from somebody else. We would have to continually reinvent the things that we needed for survival when we were hominids. From the oral tradition, we would learn where to find water. We would learn that the great light comes up this way every morning, and if you know that, you should be able to get your bearings wherever you are. We learn about who we are in relation to other people. So the oral tradition is a huge part of show and tell that's used a lot in the schools because sometimes learners learn better with spoken words. We learn about factual information, as I just explained. We learned about who we are. We learn that our grandparents were great healers. We learned that a certain plant will cure pain in our elbows. And we learn about the spirits who brought us here and how this was all created. So that's the oral tradition, and from that we moved into a literary tradition. This is the tradition of the written word in whatever form it takes. And we think of all the ancient stories that were once told or sung and were later translated into the written word. Stories like the Babylonian story, the Epic of Gilgamesh, which was found on cuneiform clay tablets. We remember stories like Beowulf, the Danish hero who defeated the monster Grendel. We think about stories like the Iliad and the Odyssey that Homer got credit for writing down, but he was probably transcribing from the bardic tradition to bring those stories forward, so there's a record of them in the Greek language that they were using at the time. So we learn from the literary tradition because the scholar Walter Fisher talked about the rational paradigm and the narrative paradigm and said that rational paradigm emphasizes facts and verifiable, measurable things, and these are the things that have value. But he also emphasized that humans are motivated by things other than measurable facts. Humans are motivated by courage and love and hope and music and poetry and all kinds of other things. And this is the narrative paradigm he spoke about. And so that we learn about our history, we learn about our values, we learn about what it is to be human and what it should be to be human. And so in the literary tradition, unlike the oral tradition, we can sit alone with a book and we can learn and we can increase our education in this isolated kind of way. Now, moving to the electronic tradition with all its fast-moving improvements and developments, we find that the storytelling includes the literary and the story from voice. And this is the great show and tell. This is where we have the power of all 3 traditions working toward us. We can look at audio combined with video to see how the Earth's plate tectonics work. We can find out the replication of the DNA molecule. We can look at the floor of the ocean or at the surface of Mars because of that combination of show and tell. And this is how we educate ourselves. And it's, a very great improvement. Even the people who exist in the world now, whose languages do not have a written form, even they have been exposed to some of the electronic tradition, even though they can't read. Because even in the village of, say, Takaungu, Kenya, there are people there who speak the Giriama language that has no written form. But they can get on a computer with no electricity because of the hand-cranked computers, and they can see images and hear the sounds and learn from that, even though they can't read. So all these three traditions together bring a lot of potential for education. They let us know about the world, and they inevitably enrich us intellectually, spiritually, and morally.